One of the things you can do when you develop your pictures in, say, Boots or somewhere is you can choose PhotoFrame designs from some of the machines that are available to create attractive borders around your pictures. And you can also do that using plugins, or you could create your own layers and use the rectangular marquee tool and feather it to create a border. But one option here is to go to ON1's PhotoFrame plugin, and we've got a demo here that lasts 30 days, so just install that into the Photoshop plugins folder, and when you restart Photoshop you'll see a little section here called ON1, and you'll be able to access it from there. So click and just say yes to the demo, and up will pop this interface here with the rabbit showing up quite happily, and you've got down the bottom an opportunity to zoom out so you can see the picture and these floating windows here, which you can position wherever you like. So I'm just going to pop them near my rabbit, or my hair I should say, because it's got a bit longer ears than a rabbit. And let's just kick off by jumping straight to add instant frame. And default sections here are ellipses, but you can change that to a rectangle, or even if you're feeling a bit more wacky, you've got a variety of different stencils here, like so. So you're going to get into a Valentine's card mood, you've got an option there as well. But let's just try and do something that we might actually want to use for most of our photos. So a rectangle is quite good. You can constrain the proportion, or if you untick that, then you've got the option here to adjust the border manually, so you can actually have it at any setting you like. I want to make sure I get the hare's legs in there, and bring the top down a little bit more, like so. Okay, so there's the edge of our instant frame, and you've got a variety of different options there, like playing with the corner radius. Let me just click and drag the slider, and you can soften the edges, as you can see there, which is actually quite nice. So a little bit of a hint there, and it's updating in real time there, so you're getting a preview of your frame, which you should be able to see okay in my little video window. Right, what else can we do to that to make it a bit more interesting? Well, you've got a border option here, and you can have an inner border with a colour, which you can choose from here. That looks a little bit too 70s for me, so I'm going to turn that off, but at least it's there if you want it. So just turn that off like so. And a nice thing to do with a border here is to blur it. If you do have it and you want to blur, then just click like so, and you can see the blur appearing there. But that's beginning to look awful now, so I'm going to just turn that totally off and leave the borders out of it. So the inner border wasn't too successful. The outer border, again, is just on the outside of the selection rather than the inside, but again, we don't really need that. So let's go back to our background there, and let's have a look at the options to edit that. You've got a noise option here, which just adds a little bit of grain there, helps to give a little bit of texture, so that's actually quite handy to have. And you've also got layer blending modes as well, which is basically just like Photoshop's traditional blending mode option, so you'll get different parts of the background photograph showing through depending on which one you choose. That's not too bad actually, I quite like that effect, but I'll keep it on normal for the moment just so we get a nice strong border. Now the other thing you can do to add depth and make it look like it's actually a real frame is to bevel it, and we move on here. There are other things you can experiment with up here, but let's just have a look at bevel because it's quite cool. At the moment it's off, that's that little icon there, but if we just turn it on, then we start to get a 3D effect. It's not initially that noticeable, but if you just change the lighting, then you can see there's a little bit of a subtle edge there, and we can make the light come from any direction just by dragging this little trackball here. So it's coming from the right now, and you've got a bit of shadow here and a bit of light there, and you can also make it plasticky, a little bit of a shine there, like so. And there's lots of different bevel types as well, like half pipe, which is a little bit more noticeable there now, and you can experiment just by clicking here and going to some default frame settings at the bottom if you like. But I'm going to stick with double, just to get a nice strong looking bevel, and then we can start modifying that. By clicking in this slider you can make the bevel a little bit stronger. Let's just let it catch up with me. Let's just whack something up a little bit higher. Okay, so that's a little bit deeper there now, And you can start to rotate things as well just by clicking in here and change the direction of the trackball manually instead of dragging on there like so. So you can experiment with the bevel option, and you can soften it as well if you like, but I'm going to keep that hard edge there because I'm going to pop down to the next section here where we've got edge. At the moment there's no option selected, but if we just click here, we've got some rather attractive options like saw teeth, which basically looks like it's been cut out. It's probably a little bit too strong there, so let me just reduce the bevel height now for this particular effect and make it a little bit more subtle. There you go, and you've got this nice texture there now. It looks like a bit of card that's had a hole cut through it, so we can see the hair in the background. And you can add other options too as well. We can actually apply brush strokes and layer it up, and that kind of gives a bit of a rougher look to it. And if we want to turn off saw teeth, just click here, and then you just have the brush strokes instead. So feel free to experiment with all of these options here, and you get a nice textured edge there. That looks like the rabbit's chewed through there. So let me just turn off brush strokes, and we'll stick with saw teeth, which is a little bit more regular and a bit more defined. So that was a fairly conventional border there, the kind of thing you might see in an old-fashioned photo frame. But let's just do something a bit more wacky now, since it's designed to let us do that. And let's just create a new instant frame by clicking on Add Instant Frame. Let's go to Star, and it is very versatile here because you can change the number of side spinners here or edges. So there's 3 instead of the default, or you can even add loads and create kind of one of those old advert style effects there. And you can also change where they start from, the insides. We can make them even tighter or come out, make it a little bit shallower. See, I'm changing the percentage there, and you can see it's changing the background like that. So you can also soften the corners as well just by clicking on the corner radius here, and from an initial star shape you've now got something really weird and wonderful. And then we can just add some effects to the edge there. Let's choose something different like a wave, and to give it a bit of 3D again, let's pop back, turn bevel on, and there you have very strange looking disturbed hair. So that's probably not something that you'd want to do particularly, but you can see that potentially you've got all sorts of options to create amazing different types of frames and really liven up your photographs. A couple of other things that are worth knowing. Obviously, to change the colour of the background there, you may want a nice black frame, so just click like so. That's probably a little bit more conventional, and you can change the bevel to a more metallic looking effect as well, so it's a bit sharper. Looks like the bunny's munched through a sheet of metal now. So those are other options that you have there. Let's go back to something like plastic again, and that'll keep our black background showing up like so. I was getting rather carried away there, so I've just gone back to an instant frame and changed that to a nice straightforward rectangle again. And instead of beveling it, which you don't need to do of course, you can just create a nice vignette effect by blurring the edges of the border that you've created. If you just go up to background and just click here, you can just drag that slider up and you get a nice soft edge, which is a little bit more conventional than perhaps the other effects that we've been doing. The problem is when you've got so much power and control, it's very easy to go over the top there. So this is a little bit more conventional. If I just zoom out, you'll be able to see that a bit more clearly, like so. And again, if I just turn off constraint proportion, I can then just change that and position it exactly where I want. So maybe not as exciting as a multi-pin star, but a little bit more conventional and more likely to be the kind of effect that you'll end up with. Okay, so that is a great way of creating borders using a plugin.